The temperatures are hot in Tennessee, and so are these takes we're sharing on today's Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this midweek episode with a shout out to our Locked On Pred heads. Those are our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. We appreciate your support, and we love that we get to spend a little bit of your day with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer with Penalty Box Radio, and my friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
So if you are one of our local listeners, you know that the temperatures outside in Tennessee have inspired today's hot take theme. We are going to be talking about hot takes for the 2024-25 season, and we're going to debate just how spicy these predictions are going to be. Before we dive into all of that, though, I want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, Emma, this is a conversation that I had with Seth Topol when we did a crossover episode with Locked On Wild, but I don't know that I know this about you. Do you eat hot chicken? Do you do spicy food?
I do spicy food. I will eat hot chicken if it's served to me, but I'm not one that's going to be like, oh, let's go get hot chicken. Like, I don't know. I like buffalo.
Maybe you did tell me this.
I like buffalo chicken better. I know that's a sin, but I'm like, I know I live in Nashville, but I mean,
I grew up near Buffalo, and I will tell you that the chicken is just one of many great things about Buffalo. Buffalo's a great city. Gets a bad rap. Love Buffalo.
I low-key love Buffalo. I love the food in Buffalo. Buffalo wings. They have Tim Hortons there. They have they have a Labatt brewery there. I'm like, I could live there. But no, hot chicken, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I hate when I go on like as a guest on, another radio show or whatever it is or TV show, and people always ask like, oh, like, where should we go in Nashville to get hot chicken? I'm like, I don't know. Like, to me,
a chicken place.
Yeah, I'm like, to me, I don't think I would be able to tell you what's good hot chicken, what's bad hot chicken. Like, it's fine, but
yeah. The only spicy thing I do are takes about hockey. Like, I do not find any enjoyment or pleasure out of the inside of my mouth feeling like chapped lips. So I am not a spicy person. I'm not a spicy food person. I'm a little spicy otherwise.
You're definitely a spicy person, just not a spicy food person.
Yeah.
I love me a spicy margarita.
I've never had a spicy margarita.
When well prepared.
Okay, what is the spice? What is the spice in the margarita? I know that we are circling around to hockey in a minute, everyone, but I have to know this. What is the spice?
Well, usually it'll come straight from jalapeno, like jalapeno pepper.
Oh, that's going to be a hard pass with a side of hell no. No,
but
ma'am. You go, girl.
I'll drink my spicy margs, and you can have your spicy takes on hockey.
There we go. Well, I will actually kick it off with spicy takes because I certainly can't handle your margarita or the chicken, but I can handle some spicy takes. And actually, I want to kick it off kind of backtracking on something that I have said just in passing on the podcast over the off season. And this is my first spicy hot take, and maybe it's not so hot. We'll see. Here's what I want to say. Gustav Nyquist is going to have a 20+ goal season, 65+ point season. I know we've talked about the fact that Gus Nyquist is not going to be able to replicate last season. And I've been like, yeah, he's not going to be able to replicate it. But then I've sat and thought about it. And I really think Gus Nyquist is going to do it again. Now, will he have a new career high? I don't know. But I think Gus Nyquist is going to be back in the ballpark. Number one, I think he is likely to stay on a line with Ryan O'Reilly and Philip Forsberg, which I think we all know that line is cooking with spicy margaritas and jalapenos.
Swedish meatballs
and the Swedish meatball and spicy margarita line.
Yeah.
And I know Barry Trotz, I don't know if you remember this, at the end of the season, Barry Trotz was asked about that line. And he said, as a coach, he has had times where lines that were super hot one season came back and acted like they hadn't even ever met each other. But I'm like, I just don't think that's going to happen. I understand he's probably likely to be the guy that gets kicked off the top power play unit, but he's going to be the guy on the second power play unit. So if the first power play doesn't score, Gus Nyquist is going to be a guy who's going to collect some power play points and probably some power play goals on that second unit. And I also think, look, he's healthy, played 81 games last season. I think he can replicate that. I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff. He came back well after injury. Also, this is a guy who hates to lose. And we talked about his post-game interview after that Dallas 9-2 loss. Gus Nyquist, couldn't put words together.
Which seemed like off-brand for him. He normally was very not that he wouldn't normally care, but it more just like he was always a guy that you could get a good quote from. You could rely on him for a good quote, and he was just not having any of it.
Yeah, I just think competitively he understands where his window is. And, he hasn't gone far in the postseason since 2012, 2013 with Detroit. That was the furthest he's gone. That was conference semifinals. He wants this. And I really think I'm going out on a limb with my fellow Swede and saying Gus Nyquist is going to repeat a big season.
I like it.
Thank you. I know I've just kind of gone along with he's going to fall off a cliff, but I'm going to backtrack that and say y'all just buckle up.
I love it.
Because I think he can do it.
I'm here for it.
I think he can do it. Yeah. So that's my spicy hot take.
I think that is spicy because we have kind of been saying for a while, easy everyone, let's not get our hopes up on Gus Nyquist, but no, I think it's good. And I think it's good that you qualified. You're not saying he's going to set a new career high, but
yeah, I think he's going to be in that same ballpark. I really, really do. And if for some reason that top line is split up, I think Nyquist is going to still be able to generate points and scoring opportunities, whether for himself or for somebody on a line with him. I just think maybe we've underestimated Gus Nyquist despite his stats. So that's what I'm standing by it. Gus Nyquist, you heard it here first.
I love it. I love it. Wouldn't change a thing.
Wouldn't change a thing. Coming up, we are going to talk about some more spicy hot takes when it comes to the 2024-25 season. We could be talking about some goaltenders, some forwards. We'll just see what pops up. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Indeed. We are all driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use it, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Again, that's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, Emma. So I have shared my first spicy hot take, and you were very gracious about it. But I do think Gus Nyquist is going to knock our Swedish socks off. What is a spicy hot take that you have when you look ahead to next season?
Okay, so mine is, I think it comes with a qualifier. Like it's not that spicy on the surface, but it's maybe got a little bit of an aftertaste, like an after spice to it.
Surprise kick.
So yes, so my spicy hot take is that Luke Evangelista is going to cross the 50-point mark. Now,
keep talking.
Now, because he is, he's in his, we've seen him progressing. We've talked about how good he looks and how he's like right there. We saw him, he had good playoffs, relatively speaking. He is coming off, I think, a 39-point season. And he, it'll be his second full NHL season. So 50 points doesn't sound all that spicy. It's like, well, yeah, that should kind of be the natural progression. The reason that here's the after kick is that for him to reasonably have the opportunity to reach that threshold, to get to the 50-point threshold, it would stand to reason that he would need to be playing in the top 6. And so that's where comes in, because like right now we've kind of been talking about, whoa, what are we doing? Like, as now with Marchessault and Stamkos here, he's, Evangelista is going to be down in the top 6 now because there's just no room for him. So my spicy after kick is that they find a way to get Luke Evangelista into the top 6 forward group. May not start the season there. Maybe not, may not spend the whole season there, but I think they do it. They get him up there and he thrives in that top 6 role, and he crosses the 50-point mark for the first time in his career.
Let's go. Would you believe that is actually, I absolutely agree with you. Mine was more non-quantifiable. Mine was that by the end of the regular season, people across the NHL are going to be talking about Evangelista. Yes. Yeah. And I'm here for the 50 points. And I just don't know. And I understand Andrew Brunette, you hate to get kind of tied down in top 6, bottom 6, because ultimately you want 12 players being a scoring threat, an offensive threat. But you want to give Luke Evangelista minutes. Like, I feel like he has earned minutes. He's earned the opportunity in the minutes that you get in a top 6 role. Now, how is that all going to happen? If Stamkos were to center a second line,
well, that would solve so many problems.
I mean,
would answer a lot of questions.
Evangelista would be, in my mind, the guy that gets that wing,
Yeah.
And he has done everything in his first full season of the NHL to earn that. And then if he's playing with Stamkos and Marchessault, baby, all bets are off. Like, who knows what Evangelista could end up doing. But I also think there is a side of Luke Evangelista that maybe as media we don't cover as much, because he provides so much entertainment and joy. And, he does funny things and says funny things, he pretty boy Vincenzo, and he is delightful. He is the definition of delightful. But this is also a player who is so competitive. He is so competitive. At the locker room cleanout, he looked like someone had kicked his puppy. Like, he just looked so upset at the end of the season. And of course, everybody is upset. But it really, it really surprised me, and it made such an impression on me how he felt having the season end. And I think the more comfortable he is, the more he understands what Andrew Brunette wants. Ooh, and the opportunity in the top 6.
And I think one thing about him too, just in conversations with him, you kind of can get the sense that yes, he's very competitive, like you said, but that doesn't just apply to, being competitive and wanting to win. I think he's very competitive within himself, and that he always wants to try to get better. And the fastest way or the best way to really unlock something in him or get something out of him is to kind of challenge him and be like, I don't think you can do it. And he'll be like, oh, hold my
It's
beer,
on. Hold
and
my spicy margarita.
exactly. Yes. And I'm like, I relate to him. I am very similar, sometimes to my own detriment. So challenge me. I dare you. You want a spicy margarita thrown in your face? Just wait. But I think that if he keeps that mentality and keeps that mindset and works hard and understands that he needs to work hard to earn those opportunities, and he continues the trend that he was on, towards the end of last season, look out.
Look out. People are going to know about Luke Evangelista. He is the player in crossovers when they say, who is somebody that maybe we don't know about that we should keep an eye on? It's Luke Evangelista. And one of the reasons why I think he has been so impressive, his growth, his kind of trajectory last season was so impressive, is he seems like a young player who is more than willing to soak up everything the vets are doing. Like,
Yeah.
I think he benefited so much from Ryan O'Reilly and Gus Nyquist and Philip Forsberg and Roman Josi, and watching how they operate. He is very confident, but he is so teachable. And I think you bring in a Steven Stamkos and the experience that he has and the leadership that he has and the work ethic that he has. And I think Luke Evangelista is going to soak that up, and he's just going to get better. I am 100% here for this. I think Evangelista is a player I think a lot of people are going to be talking about in Nashville this season. I think a lot more people are going to know who he is. And I really can see him becoming a key offensive piece for this team down the road. And it's just so exciting. I mean, this is a young guy that's worked really, really hard for those opportunities.
Yeah, like you said, it's a very rare combination and balance that it seems that he has struck early in his career, which is, he's very confident, but he's not too confident. Like, he's not
Yes.
cocky. He's confident, but he's not cocky, because cocky would mean that he's not teachable, not coachable. You can't tell him anything because he already knows everything, right?
Yes.
And like, I'm just gonna do me. I'm gonna play my game. Who cares what anyone else says? Like, it's not that kind of confidence. It's confidence like, I know I'm here for a reason. I've worked my butt off to get here. I know what I bring to the table. Now look around this locker room, and there's like how many Stanley Cups in there now, and like these guys are living legends in terms of like a Steven Stamkos, for example. So like, why not soak up as much as I can? And these guys got to where they are for a reason, so I'm going to try and learn from that. So it's a very delicate balance that he has managed to strike, I think, at a young age, which is all the more impressive.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there are a lot of young players who maybe don't come into the NHL being as coachable and as teachable as he is. They come in saying, I finally earned my chance. Well, that's the starting line. Like, you are at the starting line, and it feels like Luke Evangelista's looking around and working on, how do I keep improving? And I agree with you. I think, I hope, and I do think we're going to see a lot out of him this season. Coming up, we are going to talk about a goaltending hot take, and it may be different than what you're anticipating. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. If you are looking for some great summer activities and events, you have got to check out Game Time. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their low price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. My husband and I have said we are going to get to a Nashville Sounds game, and the place to get those tickets is going to be with Game Time. You can also find great deals on concerts, performances at TPAC, the Ryman, Bridgestone Arena, and more. Sports, comedy, everything you want, you can find on Game Time. The Game Time app is the fastest and easiest way to get tickets for whatever event you're interested in. They offer great last minute deals. They have flash deals. And my favorite part is they're all in pricing. So there is no shocking surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Emma, I have a goaltending spicy take, and I do think you could throw out there that Juuse Saros is going to be a Vezina finalist. I do think that you could throw that out there, but I actually want to go a step further with this take. And we'll see. I know there are going to be some people that disagree with this in the Western Conference, but I'm going to stand by this. The best goaltending duo in the Western Conference next season will be Juuse Saros and Scott Wedgewood. Now, I know. I hear you, Dallas. I hear you, Vancouver. I hear you calling. I know Ottinger, very good. And they've got DeSmith. Nashville knows about DeSmith. It's not, we're not unfamiliar. Both of those guys coming off of injuries. DeSmith getting used to a new system in Dallas after being with Vancouver. Probably going to get a few less starts than what he was used to getting in Vancouver with Ottinger. And then, the other team that I think people would argue in the Western Conference is going to be maybe ahead of the Predators when it comes to goaltending is going to be Vancouver with Thatcher Demko and Artur Shilovs, which, again, not unfamiliar with.
Ew.
We remember y'all. We remember you all. And Demko, I can understand the argument. Thatcher Demko was a finalist for the Vezina, had a .918 save percentage. Of course, we all remember that Artur Shilovs was just incredible in the postseason. But Demko only played 32 games in 2022-23, 51 last season. He is working his way up to numbers that are the starting guy. And you have to wonder, can Artur Shilovs be a backup who pops in and out of the lineup instead of kind of playing those consecutive games like we saw in the postseason? I really believe that Juuse Saros and Scott Wedgewood are going to be the best goaltending duo in the Western Conference. I think Saros has a year under this new, system under his belt. He has a better idea of what is happening in front of him. I think defensively, while there were some changes, I don't think Nashville got worse defensively in front of him. I think Scott Wedgewood gets this role. He gets the backup role, and he can be the guy who comes in more often for Saros. There's also no pressure on Juuse Saros. He has an 8-year contract. So some of that pressure, I think, is off. I think he's going to have a bounce back season. And I think Scott Wedgewood is going to be key. These two guys are going to be phenomenal and be the best goaltending duo in the West.
I would argue, and we did argue when we were talking about who's under pressure and who's under less pressure. Saros is going to be under pressure now, but for different reasons. I think the way to say that is he's not going to have this contract situation hanging over his head now. So he is just going to be kind of be able to play free and easy. So, and I agree with you. There is really something to be said. And I think I understood this, but I didn't fully appreciate it until we talked with Scott Wedgewood when he came for his media availability, that there really is a difference between, you have to have a special kind of mindset or understanding to be a backup goalie. And it is different than, for example, Kevin Lankinen, everyone knows how we feel about Kevin Lankinen here.
Locked on Kevin Lankinen.
Locked on Kevin Lankinen. Love him. And he was a fantastic goalie as well. But it is different when you have a backup who has starting aspirations. And now I'm not saying that Kevin Lankinen was not coming for Juuse Saros's job. He wasn't trying to, like, and he knew that. But he wanted to prove that he can be a starter somewhere. And that might, while that's not necessarily a bad thing, you think, well, that's good. He'll come out with his A game every time you put him out there. And he did that. But I think there is something to be said for just like the mental approach to it. You're not, Scott Wedgewood is not auditioning himself the way that Kevin Lankinen was, at least in his mind. He understands the role. He's like, you put me out there, on a back-to-back, you play me at home, play me on the road, play me once every 2 weeks, or play me 3 times in a row. I don't care. Like, he gets it, and he understands what the role is, and he understands that, like, he is the consummate next man up. And so I think it's that understanding and that mental approach that I think is going to serve him well, and has served him well. We saw the results in Dallas. He posted the best numbers of his career in the last 2 seasons. So I think I'm here for this take. My goaltending take actually was going to be that Juuse Saros is a Vezina finalist again. I think that
Tell me more.
I think he has a bounce back season. Again, everyone likes to get hung up on the horrible season he had last year. I'm like, all right.
If that's the worst season you get out of your goaltender, you're welcome.
I just think that, listen, I think that it's maybe not, well, not maybe, it's not fair to judge a goalie based solely on his win-loss record. But it's part of it. And I think that is something that has gone against Juuse Saros in years past, is that his win-loss record was never going to be that of some of the other, Vezina finalists, because they are on teams, that make deeper playoff runs, or that, finish higher in their division. And so I think that this year, with the team that Barry Trotz has assembled in front of Saros, and for all the reasons you just said, he doesn't have that contract hanging over his head anymore. He can just go out and do his thing. He now has a year of Andrew Brunette's system. And we saw, it's not like his whole year was bad. Like, we definitely saw him you saw it start to click for him, in the second half of the year. So I think that with all of those things, he has a bounce back year. And I think that he finishes in the top 3 for the Vezina voting. I don't know that he wins it. I'm not going that far, but I'm going to say I think that he will be a finalist again.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a crime if he has a bounce back season. And it doesn't even need to be a big bounce to get back into that conversation. Again, you've pointed out he was 5th in Vezina voting this past year. And it was such a tragic year. It was not a tragic year, y'all.
Yeah,
it was
seriously. Not. Do you know how many teams would love to be 5th in the Vezina voting? Yes. They'd love for their goalie to be that. And like, hey, I think maybe, I get defensive of Juuse. I think that a lot of times fans don't appreciate how valuable he is to this team. And it's, so I do get defensive of him, but I think that with everything that we just said, I do foresee him having a bounce back year. And, people try to say like, well, he's not proven, people who tried to argue he's unproven and didn't earn the 8-year contract, or the 7.74. It's like, what more do you need him to do? Like, and don't talk to me about the playoffs. We've already been over this. We talked about that.
Please see Monday's episode.
Please see Monday per my last email. Well, let's not talk about the playoffs again.
That's
But
right.
I think that he's got a better team in front of him in theory. And I don't want anyone coming at me freaking out because we know that he tends to get off to slower starts. So if he comes out at the start of the season and isn't looking like a Vezina finalist, I don't want to hear it because this is nothing new for him.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes him a minute. He's got to find, what was it? He's got to find the ketchup at Walmart.
At Walmart. He
Give
is a
him a minute.
crock pot, not a microwave. He's a crock pot, not a microwave.
Yes.
Yes. But I do think part of what is going to work in Saros's favor is I think that he will be able to steal some games early. And we've talked about this in previous episodes. The October-November schedule for the Nashville Predators is tough. It is a tough schedule. They've got Dallas, they've got Edmonton 3 times in the first 2 months. They've got Florida. They've got, of course, that emotional Tampa Bay game. They've got Vancouver. They've got Winnipeg. But I think while the, Stamkos and Marchessault and Brady Skjei are kind of all adjusting, I think Saros is going to be able to steal some of those games early. And I think when you look at like the April schedule where Nashville has Dallas twice and they've got Vegas again, I think he is going to make such a big impact at the beginning of the season. And I agree with you. He takes some time to warm up, but I think he's going to be able to steal some of those games. And I think he's going to be able to close it out really well. And I agree with you. I think this is a guy who needs to be and will be in the Vezina conversation. Heard it here. Maybe not first, but you heard it here most emphatically.
Yes.
100%. So what is your spicy hot take for next season? What player do you think is going to surprise everybody? What do you think the Nashville Predators may do that is a spicy take? What's your spicy take around the NHL? We would love to hear from you. You can let us know in the comment section of our YouTube video. You can tweet us at LO_Predators. Best way to get a hold of Emma and I, join our insider program via subtext. You are able to text with Emma and I post podcast, share your thoughts on the podcast, give us your questions. We love to have your questions and answer them on the podcast as well. So check out all that information in the description of this video and also in our bio as well. Before we sign off, Emma, of course, let everyone know where they can find you and your work.
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingen. You can also find me at the closest bar serving spicy margaritas. And you can find my work online at the Hockey News.
You can find me at the bar sitting next to Emma drinking ice water, or on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work at Penalty Box Radio as well. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Be sure you tune in for Friday's episode. We have a very special interview coming up on Friday. We're really excited about it, and it's going to be somebody that you are definitely going to want to hear from. So tune in for that on Friday. That's going to do it for today's episode. We thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We're going to be back on Friday with that all new episode. We'll see you then.